A young man inadvertently breaks 3 important rules concerning his new pet and unleashes a horde of malevolent, mischievous monsters on a small town. 1984's Gremlins is up next on Inside Movies. Hey guys, welcome to Inside Movies. My name is George Michail. I'm joined by Andrew Buckley, novelist, writer, illustrator, GMB CHOMICHUK, and writer Chad Perkins. Thanks so much for being on the show, everyone.
Yeah,
it's good to be here, George.
Yeah. So today,
I can't wait to talk about Gremlins.
Yes. Yeah. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the Gremlins. What is the good? What do you guys like about this movie?
I have so much I want to talk about. I have so much. So someone else has to go first so I don't monopolize all the time we have. But okay. I'm ready. See me rubbing my hands like a cartoon villain. It's because I just love this movie so much.
Speaking of cartoon villains, that's exactly what this movie is. I like Gremlins. I never felt bored. It was funny, exciting. Nothing ever felt like, everything felt goofy. Like, everything was fun. Everybody was exciting. Like, every stupid thing the dad did, I was laughing at. That stupid orange juice machine, every time I see it, it's like the dumbest thing ever, but I always laugh. I love the animatronic puppets still hold up till this day.
They're solid.
You don't get that much quality in them. And it's dark. Like, those gremlins are scary. They just shoot people out of boredom. It's great.
I like the lore, man. Like you can't feed them after midnight. You can't get them wet. You can't put them in sunlight. I like that there's rules. They break the rules. They don't follow the rules. The little like unplug the clock so they can get a late night snack and they turn into the monsters. I like that they kind of control their own fate. I just think it's silly and I like it. But it works for me.
What makes it entertaining too is that they're, like you said, they're all aware of their rules as well, and that's what makes it better.
Here's another thing that is great about the Gremlins, that the world it's in, there is evidence, strong evidence within the film itself that the whole world is filled with stuff like this. And that's what I love about it. When the dad goes to that convention, there's robots talking, there's time machines in the background, there's weirder stuff than the Gremlins. And so for the first quarter of the movie, you're asking yourself, like, why aren't they freaked out by this little creature? Why aren't they more surprised? Why are they taking it at face value? Well, he goes to conventions where time machine happens, right? Like, this is not the weirdest thing they've encountered in this world, but that's not, they don't do any world building. It's just accidental, right? And that's one of the things I loved. I will also say that I saw this movie in the theater when it came out.
How old are you?
As a very young boy. That hurts. That's hurtful, George. That's hurtful.
I mean, your age is showing.
My gray should give you some indication, right?
Yeah,
but I'm 45 years old.
Okay.
I have seen Gremlins in the theater as a child.
Nerd.
And I will say this, it scared the fucking lights out of me. Like, I was fucking terrified.
How old were you then, though, Greg?
Okay, we'll have to do the math. What's it came out in 1984,
so you would have been like,
I was 4.
7.
I was born in 1976.
Chad Shaw.
I'm 10. Right? So I'm 10 years old. I remember standing up on the chair in the theater and turning around. My parents weren't going to leave. Like, we paid to be there. They were watching it too. I was like, Dad, we got to get out of here. I can't handle this. They just ripped that guy's arm apart, and the substitute teacher's being murdered. They're eating him. We got to go. And they're like, no, just turn around. So I turned around in the chair and looked at the audience's reaction to what was being seen, which was more terrifying than the film. So then I turned back. I was terrified a gremlin was in my closet for months. Months.
So this shows how desensitized today's youth is, because Chad's like, it's silly fun. This movie scared the living shit out of me. All right, I saw it when I was 5 years old. 5 years old because my dad thought it would be a good movie for me, and I spent 3 years believing there were gremlins under my bed. All right, 3 years. You know what the cure was? Gremlins 2. Gremlins 2 cured me of it because that was
that's true. Gremlins 2 cured us all.
Like, yeah, it's all right.
Of them being scary.
Gremlins 2 is a whole different movie.
Yeah, totally different.
Really
When the old lady, who, we can all argue, kind of deserves it, but dies in such a comical way, it feels funny until the camera holds on her corpse.
Yeah. Well,
it's funny when she launches out, but then they show her land and then keep it locked on her little old lady shoe, twisted to the wrong way in the snowy pavement. That's horrible.
Well, this movie was supposed to be a horror movie too, from what I'm understanding. I guess one of the original scenes is when the mother just goes all Rambo on the gremlin and throws him in a microwave. I guess they were supposed to cut off her head in the original script and murder the dog. So I was like, oh, this movie is. I definitely can see this scaring little children when they were
So I
little.
watched it with
this movie and Indiana Jones Temple of Doom are a big part of the reason why we have the PG-13 rating now.
Yeah,
really?
Well, didn't Spielberg?
It came out. It was rated PG. Parents took their kids. They stood up in the theaters, looked at the projector, and people got annoyed. So then they invented the PG-13 rating.
Right. Yeah.
I think I was 9 when I saw Gremlins.
I recently let my kids who are 10 and 12 watch Gremlins. And I'm pleased to say that they were pretty horrified at the same stuff that I was horrified by. But in particular, what they were pointing out was that the mom, here's my favorite moment in the film. When the mom grabs the TV tray, such an 80s thing, the TV tray, right? And then the butcher knife and charges into the kitchen to kill the gremlins. My youngest looks to my wife and says, "That's you. That's what you would do." Nice. Right? And she says, "Well, where would your dad be?" They're like, he's the guy at the school. I was like, ouch, that's hurtful, but probably accurate.
That school scene is like everyone loves the kitchen scene and them and her stuffing the gremlin in the microwave and stuff like that. That's pretty intense. But also I think for me the biggest jump was at the school. He goes into the nurse's station or whatever, and that gremlin pops out of the cabinet.
Oh yeah.
Holy crap. I watched it with my daughter for Halloween this year, and I jumped out of my seat. I was like, holy, it just scared the snot out of me.
Yeah.
And you can see okay, well, they're obviously puppets. No one watching that thinks there are really gremlins unless you're 10 and have never seen anything like it. But you recognize the conceit that these are puppets right away.
Yeah.
And yet the danger to the characters feels so real when he bleeds, when Stripe is cutting him and scraping him, and there's when they're struggling in the department store. The poor hero of our story is getting hurt, and he's yelling that it hurts, and that was new for kids to see on screen. Certainly it was when I was, everything was so sanitized, and then suddenly I'm allowed to watch this guy butchered right on camera in front of me, and my parents have brought me there some macabre rite of passage.
But I think that's why my dad was fine with me watching it, was because, they're just puppets. I mean, they don't look scary. Yeah. But tonally, I don't know if this falls into the good or the bad, but tonally, it's a little unbalanced because it goes from cute and cuddly to mischievous to murder to them all hanging out in the bar and being ridiculous to them being violent in the department store to fucking Phoebe Cates's horrible monologue about her dad. It's just
but how there's no
that's the best scene.
Totally, it was just so all over the place.
What a movie to let kids and encourage kids to go see.
I know,
right? But that is oh yeah, by the way, there's no Santa Claus, right?
But that's when you know that the movie is super aware of itself. That whole scene is hilarious because Billy just looks and goes, "Okay, well, we gotta go now. That's cool." That's my biggest problem with that movie is Billy.
Oh, you got to save it for the bad.
Okay, yeah, we'll get
no,
into
no.
that.
I do like the puppets though. Like if this movie was made nowadays, it would be with CGI. And honestly, I buy the puppets better than I would CGI. I feel like once you kind of like get used to it, then you're on board with it the whole time. And Gizmo's just super cute, and his little song that he sings, and he's got like a little headband thing, and he's awesome. I like Gizmo. I like he's voiced by Howie Mandel. The Stripe was voiced.
Is he really?
Yes.
Oh man.
Okay.
And Stripe was voiced by Frank Welker, who's the voice of Scooby-Doo, Curious George.
You know what else is scary? I hear Cover of Darkness is scary. If you like something full of monsters and rules that Andrew won't like, George, tell us about Cover of Darkness.
Thanks. Cover of Darkness is being published by SourcePoint Press. It's about a family in medieval Romania. They get separated from each other, and they encounter vampires, werewolves, the mummy, creature from the Black Lagoon, and a steampunk Atlantean Frankenstein. It's a lot of fun, and I encourage everyone to ask your local comic book retailer to bring this book in for you. All right, let's get into the bad. This isn't a perfect movie. What did we not like about Gremlins?
It's one of your good ones, George. I think the lore is the stupidest piece of shit ever to appear on screen. Don't feed them after midnight. Don't get them wet, and they don't like light. Like those are three pretty major freaking things. And the feed after midnight is stupid. Like, what if the time changes? What kind of weird arbitrary fucking rule is that?
But Doctor Who is at the convention, and it's not a guy dressed like Doctor Who. They mean that's Doctor Who. So in a world of Doctor Who, right?
So apparently the after midnight, because that was one of the problems I had as well.
Yeah, it's always midnight.
That's just whenever the sun comes up. Like you have until the sun comes up to feed them. I don't know. That's what they were trying to say, but I'm like, that still doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make sense, Chad.
So, look,
and water, like what? You just never ever going to give them water? They don't drink?
Give them water.
What if you spit on it, or a dog drools on it, or during the rain? I mean, it's
or you kiss
winter. It's winter. How do they not multiply more? They're running around in snow for half of this movie.
What I'm saying,
I like it. I know it doesn't make sense. I like it.
It's set in a world where nothing makes sense, and so it exists.
You're not really supposed to think about it, and you are.
I didn't think about it when I was a kid. I didn't think about it when I was a teenager. It's my adult brain was the one that was like, wait a minute, that makes no sense.
And isn't that what all cautionary tales really are? Right? It's
sure.
It's if you think about it too much as an adult, it makes no sense. But you tell a kid something like, don't go into the woods, the wolves will eat you. Actually, no. Right? We just don't want you to get lost in the woods and die of starvation. Right? And exposure. But that's too much for a kid. So you say, though, there's a bad thing out there.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
The movie was written by Christopher Columbus, who would go on to direct Home Alone, Harry Potter, so a pretty good pedigree here in making these rules. I don't know.
And making the impossible seem plausible. Yes.
One thing that I noticed about the movie that I found out was actually intentional is like it's filmed on like the Universal lot in California there with the same lot that Back to the Future is filmed on. You recognize
all the matte paintings of like the long shots because they're not really anywhere.
Right. But these are this was done on purpose to give kind of It's a Wonderful Life sort of vibe, or kind of meets the Birds, and so when I see things where it's like this is obviously filmed on a film studio lot, it sometimes takes me out of the movie because it's like, okay, I recognize these things, I'm thinking about this stuff instead of being immersed in the movie. But it's a small criticism. I think Kate's speech there where she talks about Santa Claus and her family dying and all this like dark stuff is really horribly put into what is essentially a children's movie.
It's fun. I love that scene.
I do like it. I did not like it as a child. I did like it as a teenager, and I do like it a lot as an adult. So I'm not sure what that says about me as an adult. But what you say about it being on a lot, I find really interesting because, of course, with all that prosthetics and the latex and all the creature effects and whatever, that'd be impossible to bring out to a location every day and maintain that. So doing it on a studio lot is literally the only way at that time you could have produced that film.
They actually had issues with people stealing Gremlins because each of those Gremlins was like $30,000 or $40,000, and they would check everybody's cars before they left before the end of the day, because apparently they were real paranoid about losing the Gremlin puppets.
So Red Letter Media actually has one of those puppets, and they have it where the eyes move as well. So they fixed it.
Is it a black market gremlin, like one that was snuck off the lot, or did they get it through legitimate means?
I think they got it through legitimate means, because I know they have the arm they got through legitimate means as well.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, let's put it in Andrew's closet so that.
Yeah, sure. Let's just drag up all my old theories.
One of the things I really didn't like about this movie is Billy is a fucking moron. Am I allowed to swear?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
I think Billy is probably one of the dumbest, unemotional people I have ever seen in a film. He broke the rules in the first 32 hours of having Gizmo.
What teenager
knocked the water on him though?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you got a glass of water in there in the first place. It's true. It's true. He didn't toddler-proof it.
That's my other problem with this movie, is that he is just there as a plot device to just push the movie along, to the point of where it almost seems like everybody forgot they were making this movie. They got so engrossed in the bedroom scene with Gizmo, they're like, oh yeah, we got to get him wet. Billy, how about you go over there and knock some water down? No, you're stupid. Like, that there, or this dog scene where they hung up the dog in the Christmas lights. I'm like, okay,
this is not more freaked out by that.
That was not weird as a kid, but when I rewatched it as an adult, I was like, does he not think it's weird that his dog's like hanging by the Christmas lights?
Yeah, just stuff.
Who does he think did this?
You'd be like, no, this is like sadistic. Yeah.
Like that scene is literally there just to remind us of Mrs. Deagle, and that's it. Like, they're just like, oh yeah, we have that plot too. We got to remind them that she hates this dog. Okay. You could have just hung the dog up and probably just made Miss Deagle a huge bitch, and the movie would have been fine. You don't have to remind us that she hates the dog.
What I do like, I agree with you that those are problematic parts, but in a movie that's so full of ridiculous things.
Sure.
Right? It's kind of an indictment on how when you're given a gift and your parent says, be careful with this, you never are.
I mean, yeah, but I mean,
you aren't. You just aren't. They're like, do this, take care of it, make sure you. No, nobody takes care of their pet. They're told it's a big responsibility when they're a kid, and then the parents have to take care of it. And in this case, that's true. That mom's got to come and take care of business at one point.
She has to Rambo.
She really does. And no one questions the rules. Like, why can't you get them wet? What happens if you get them wet? What happens if you put them in the sunlight?
Yes, it's true. Like, there are no consequences. But that's what you're like when you're a kid. Nah, no consequences.
I guess.
Sure. Like, that didn't bother me as a kid when I was watching it, but like watching it now as an adult is like this kind of mystical Asian trope that you see in movies. Yeah. You know, like, why do they have like these mythical creatures that no one's ever heard of? And
the mystic East.
Why is he like
the 80s, right?
quiet and wise and these sorts of things? I don't know how much that would fly anymore.
But they're going to explain it. They've literally just made an animated show about it. That's what the new Gremlins TV show is going to be all about. Is like their origin story.
I did not even know there is a Gremlins TV show.
I didn't know that either.
And it's the main showrunner. Oh man, I can't think of his name. We could look it up. Asian creator, always spotlighting Asian comic book makers and other creatives. And so I think I imagine we're gonna see a somewhat more measured take on what George aptly points out is a racist caricature of the wise, old, ancient Asian person, perhaps given a more measured take. But maybe not. Maybe it'll be batshit crazy, that show.
It's Gremlins, Secrets of the Mogwai. Is it Si Chun you're talking about?
I believe so, yeah. Yeah.
And it's about 10-year-old, like the 10-year-old version of the old guy, of Sam Wing, of how he met Gizmo and so on and so forth.
I hope they fight ninjas. I
Well,
really
that's
wanted.
George and Mi's comic. We're not. No, we can't
And
put
have
it
a crossover with the Masters of the Universe.
Yeah.
yeah. Mogwais of the universe.
Yes, I like it.
Oh, so speaking of racist caricatures, I never noticed that the guy who's complaining about foreign vehicles, he is just racist.
Oh yeah, he's just straight up. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
And they get crushed by a bulldozer.
Right,
Like
yeah,
all he keeps doing is saying foreigners, and then I processed that and I was like, oh wait a minute. Oh, he's not angry about the technology.
yeah, right.
He just hates foreigners.
And if you're gonna like drink and drive, don't drive a fucking tractor. That's like
Yeah.
the worst vehicle to drive.
Right?
Well, I
Drive
mean,
a
I
smart
guess
car, something like that.
I guess if you're going to drink and drive, you're safe in the tractor. I guess theoretically,
I
Sure.
mean,
It's the
Yeah.
safest thing to
that's the
drive if
worst
you're
thing I
drunk.
can think to
Yeah,
do.
I
is
just-
be drunk.
Imagine all the carnage that guy would have caused going home.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the skinny. What are our final grades for Gremlins? I'm going to
Oh.
give it a B+. I think it's a delightful introduction to horror that created characters that have lasted the test of time. Not overly scary for adults and a bit simplistic, but still, it's an enjoyable movie. I had fun rewatching it with my daughter. I like it. B+ for me.
I will give it 8 out of 10 jump scares for an 80s movie. I think since it's so firmly entrenched in 80s cinema and 80s tropes, you have to watch it in that context. By modern day standards, perhaps not such a high mark, but a solid 8 out of 10 for me.
3 Mogwai out of 5, due to my childhood trauma and that fact that the rules continue to piss me off to this day.
I think it's funny that we both had childhood traumas, but it made me love it and you hate it.
I don't hate it.
Yes, you do.
I don't. I respect
Yes,
it
you
for what it is. It's just the rules. It's just the rules I dislike.
3 out of 5. That's only like 66%. That's like a C, dude.
It's a
Really?
C plus. It's a C
No,
plus.
it's a solid B movie. I disagree with your grade.
Okay, fine. I'll re-amend. It's a 3.5 Mogwai out of 5. Good luck editing that into the damn video.
I give it a B-. I think it's exciting. It's engaging. Every time the Gremlins are on screen, it's always going to be a good time. But I can't forgive it that Billy is a huge, total confused idiot the whole time. But I really enjoyed it. I actually think I enjoyed it more as an adult than I did as a kid. Just because now I understand a lot more from it. And I also wasn't born in the 80s, so I need to be older to understand 80s references.
That's going to do it for another episode of Inside Movies. I've been George Michail, joined by Andrew Buckley, GMB CHOMICHUK, Chad Perkins. I've shared links to all of our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Chad's websites and podcasts, and GMB's podcast, and all that sort of stuff is in the description of this video. And Cover Darkness is available to order into stores, and there's a link in there too if you want to learn more about that book. And we'll see you next time. Peace.